Welcome back to my podcast, Navigating Life in Spirit. This podcast covers mental, emotional, spiritual matters, and all that jazz. Hola, my name is Hilary Molefe, a life enthusiast and a sister in spirit. I will be sharing my takeouts from everyday life by covering an array of topics, my views on them, and how I have handled them. I am by no means an expert or a professional on the topics at hand. This is solely a personal journey that I will be sharing with you. If it ain't adding to the peace that I already have, it's got to go. I was speaking to a friend of mine who's in the season of letting go. Here's what I discovered. I frequent that season. There are two main aspects of life that I thought were challenging to walk away from, one being people and the other work. That, however, I believe was how I used to perceive those two elements. Looking at the recent times, I have very well gotten to a point where it is no longer hard for me to do. I remember having conversations with people regarding addiction and what addiction was. I would often come out with a statement that I didn't have an addictive personality, so therefore I didn't have any attachments. I would then do some stock taking only to realize that I indeed had an addiction, which turned out to be attachment to safety and acceptance. I have since recognized that addiction in general is a means of soothing the cause. I always found that I attached to people a lot, especially people that showed a bit of care as they represented a safe space, acceptance, and belonging. Those things are what I believe lacked in my upbringing and have showed up as characteristics that I value. Not to say that they didn't exist, but when you grow up feeling different to everyone, including your family, it is quite hard to believe and feel that the people around you accept you as you are. This surfaced in several ways, from friendships to relationships. I thrive more in one-on-one friendships. To me, it meant that we could embark on something that carried substance. However, a lot of the times these friendships, even though substantial, wouldn't last. I understood this. I understood detachment from an early age. There's a process to when I let go. It usually happens way before it manifests. In fact, it takes place at the foresight of me recognizing that something isn't for me, that I am no longer safe in a space. There have been times I find myself in situations, years and moments longer than I was supposed to. There would be reasons for that, ranging from feeling of acceptance, loved, even though I understood why that was. At times I would make the excuse of, we both get what we want, so it doesn't hurt. But it did. I knew I was delusional, identifying with discomfort and dis-ease for the sake of something that I couldn't guarantee I'd be exposed to again. I was intently thinking and had accepted that I was unlovable without admitting it to myself. Once again, something that stemmed from my upbringing. I realized that we often perceive upbringing wounds as traumas that we experience at home, but it goes as far as society. We spend less time at home than we do in society, even though our parents were the molding tool to how we saw and accepted the world. Growth is so magical. It allows for so much to happen, and it takes place regardless of whether you are a keen participant or not. A few years ago, I would never believe if I was told that I walked away from jobs that I had secured. Work for me has always represented security, to live in this world we find ourselves in. It meant that I could afford a better way of living. It meant I could create my dream life. Well, that's the impression I had until I didn't. Since my awakening, I see things in such a different way. I live according to the rules I've set for myself. I believe that everything I do is part of the bigger plan, even though I don't know what that looks or feels like. There's an immovable knowing that affirms the choices I make, as I believe they have been pre-approved by Source and those that walk with me. To my mind, I couldn't make a wrong move, as every step is curated for the next chapter to my story. It doesn't take too long for me to decide what's for me. Sometimes I linger a little longer than I should. when in doubt or faced with confusion, it is at that point that the deep knowing aches as a reminder that every step I take, whether it makes sense to my human mind or not, is a step I was meant to take. It tends to get blurry as most times we navigate from a place of earthbound thoughts or feelings. It is pivotal that we find moments of stillness to consult with self and source. Sometimes I feel crazy when I look at my life and the way it happens. Yes, I said my life happens. Perhaps it's being too sensitive or accustomed to a certain way of doing things and being, that the moment there's disturbance to peace, I take note and do something about it. One thing I find interesting about my life is how I experience so much in such little time. I guess it goes back to not taking too long to decide whether something is for me or not. There are times I'd hope that I can experience certain things for a little longer, but also understand that there's a bigger picture that I don't have the privilege of seeing. How do you accept something that you don't even know? I take it as it comes, and well, I have learned that resistance can cause suffering. So here's where I'm at. I don't have it in me to endure something or someone that doesn't add to what I have going on. It is particularly challenging for me too. I have done so much surviving the discomfort that I instantaneously react when it's not according. Now, one could argue that I walk away too soon and don't allow to fully experience what I am meant to, but the difference is I actually do. What I have learned about being in the season of letting go, it's a tough place to be in. You need to do a recon of what you're letting go of, what that looks like, how it will affect you. Remember, you're not letting go of something that doesn't matter. Most times, letting go is tough because it could very well be a comfort zone. It could be your childhood best friend. It could be a family member, that job that pays well. But if it's not a safe space for your mental, emotional, spiritual wellness, then why is it there? Why are you still there? It's a decision that must really be considered. Most importantly, you need to be considered, because letting go could very well be when everything else starts happening for you. You open your eyes to the possibilities that you weren't even considering. At times you get pushed to your limits. You get to know yourself. Get to know what you can handle and what you can't handle. You also get to really decide what's for you and what's not for you. The best part about it is that you don't have to explain yourself to anyone. If it makes sense to you, that's all that matters. At times, you even start walking lighter than before because you've unburdened yourself. There are times when you're with this person or in a particular place and your body starts talking to you. If you're aware enough, you'll pick up the slight bit of change. That's no coincidence. That is your carrier letting you know that you've entered a danger zone, that where you're at is no longer safe for you. This can come up in different ways. You know how your gut speaks to you. Pay attention to it. They often say that our hair is our antennas. I believe our bodies are too. I remember once, after interacting with someone I was fond of, my body completely spazzed out when I left. I didn't really understand why, as it wasn't our first interaction, but I took it as a big warning, which I was right in doing. There were other factors that had joined the party. It was another way of the truth being revealed to me. It almost had to happen in an extreme way for me to sit up and take notice. I may sound like I'm reaching, but I speak directly from experience, not from a third-party POV. In closing, I want you to pay attention to when something disturbs your way of doing things, seeing things, and your beliefs. It is so very important that you listen when your body speaks to you. Investigate why you are reacting a certain way or why it could be showing up the way it is. We are protected from places and spaces that don't align. The tricky part is we don't have a say in how that pans out. It may be introduced to us in a way that is associated with pain. I secretly think because it is known that we can't stand pain. But one thing is that it's from a place of love. Consult if you must, with self and with source. Get the guidance needed to move forward in alignment to the kind of life you want to lead. Here are some affirmations. I honor my intuition. I create boundaries for me to feel safe. I know what feels right for me. Everything I seek is seeking me. I invite ease, peace, and joy. Do me a solid and don't forget to love yourself in the midst of it all. It's Hilary, signing out. Khanya.